The sun dipped below the horizon as I settled into the couch, the room awash in the dull glow of the evening. My mind was cluttered with the mundane details of the day. It was just another ordinary evening, or so I thought until I reached for my wife Mary's phone to check a recipe she had mentioned. That's when I saw it, a number I didn't recognize, flashing up repeatedly in her call history. Confused and with a flicker of something dark kindling in my chest, I tapped on the number and pressed the phone to my ear. The line trilled 3 times before a male voice answered. "Hello?" I'm Mary's husband," I stammered, my voice a mix of confusion and accusation. The silence that followed was piercing. The man on the other end of the line cleared his throat, his voice tinged with unmistakable shock. "She never mentioned she was married," he confessed, and my world tilted on its axis. My heart pounded against my chest, the blood roaring in my ears as the implication settled like lead in my stomach. Mary, my wife of 8 years, the woman I trusted with every fiber of my being, had been living a double life. "I can't believe this," I managed to say, the room spinning around me. I'm sorry, man. "I had no idea," the voice said, heavy with guilt and confusion. After ending the call, I paced back and forth, the seed of betrayal sprouting into a thorny vine around my heart. I felt foolish, enraged, and heartbroken all at once. My mind raced with the memories of our years together, now tainted with doubt and lies. The pain twisted inside me, giving birth to a dark resolve. I confronted Mary the moment she walked through the door. Her face, usually so open and loving, closed off as she realized what I had discovered. The confrontation was heated, with accusations hurled and secrets spilled like blood. The truth was undeniable, and the damage irreparable. In a fit of rage, fueled by countless sleepless nights and the haunting image of her betrayal, I decided that revenge would be my only solace. It was not just about hurting her as she had hurt me, it was about reclaiming my dignity, about punishing deceit. "We're done, Mary," I said coldly, the finality of my voice echoing in the now barren living room. Her pleas fell on deaf ears as I started planning. The revenge would be meticulous and fitting. As she packed her things, the silent promise of retribution kept my shattered heart from crumbling. Our paths parted that night, forever altered by the lies between us. The following days were a blur of activity. I consulted with lawyers, arranged for separate living accommodations, and dived into the depths of my planning. Each step was calculated, aimed to dismantle the life of deceit she had built. As dawn broke over the city, the stark light of day did little to alleviate the darkness that shrouded my heart. My resolve had hardened overnight, fueled by the betrayal that still echoed painfully through my mind. I sipped my coffee in the silent kitchen, plotting every step of my retribution against Mary. I pulled out my laptop and began documenting everything. Screenshots of the mysterious calls, dates, times, and any small details that might have seemed insignificant before, but now were pieces of the puzzle I was desperately solving. As I organized the data, the doorbell rang, a courier with a small package. It was the new SIM card I had ordered. This was the first tangible step in my plan, one that would let me infiltrate Mary's circle without raising suspicions. Later that day, I sat in my car outside a familiar cafe, the hub of Mary's social life. I had installed the new SIM in a burner phone and, taking a deep breath, I dialed the number of Tom, Mary's closest friend, who, as far as I knew, was unaware of her double dealings. "Hello, Tom, this is Jack, an old buddy of Mary's from college. She suggested I get in touch with you to plan a surprise for her, kind of a cheer-up thing," I lied smoothly. Tom was instantly warm and cooperative. "Oh, Mary hasn't been herself lately. A surprise might just be what she needs, Jack. What do you have in mind?" I was thinking about a small get-together with her closest friends, maybe share some old stories, bring back some good memories. "You think you can help me out?" "Count me in." "When and where?" Tom was enthusiastic, and the pieces began to slot into place. We agreed to meet the following day to discuss the details. I ended the call and felt a cold smile creep onto my face. The first phase was set. The next day, I met Tom at the cafe. He was a jovial, unsuspecting link to Mary's life. As we talked, I wove a believable narrative, dropping hints of my fictional ties to Mary, ensuring Tom felt comfortable with the facade. "So, you think she'll be surprised?" Tom asked, sipping his coffee. "Absolutely, she won't see it coming." "It'll be a blast from the past," I assured him, the irony bitter on my tongue. By the time we parted ways, the plan was in motion. Tom would gather all of Mary's closest friends, including the man she had cheated with, though he didn't know I knew who he was. It was perfect. That night, I lay in bed, the darkness around me a mere shadow of the darkness within. I wasn't just planning a simple revenge, I was crafting a downfall. Mary would face not just me, but all those she had deceived, all at once. The stage was set, and as I drifted to sleep, the curtain was ready to rise on her day of reckoning. The thought was the only balm to my wounded heart. The day of the surprise party dawned clear and bright, a stark contrast to the storm brewing within me. I had arranged everything to the last detail: the venue, a cozy yet upscale bar that Mary and her friends frequented, the guest list meticulously curated by Tom, and the alibis to ensure my presence would not be questioned. As guests began to trickle in, the atmosphere was light, filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. I mingled, playing the part of Jack, the old college friend, perfectly. Each interaction was a step closer to the moment I had been obsessively planning. "Jack, you've really outdone yourself." "Mary will be thrilled," Tom commented, clapping me on the back as he surveyed the room filled with Mary's closest friends. "I sure hope so, Tom." "She deserves a good day," I replied, my tone light, but my eye scanning the room for the final guest, her secret lover, whose identity I had painfully uncovered over the past weeks. The moment Mary walked in, her surprise was genuine. Her eyes wide, a hand clasping her mouth, she was the picture of an unsuspecting honoree. The crowd erupted into cheers. "Surprise! Jack? What are you doing here? This is unbelievable." Mary approached, her smile wide, but her eyes flickering with a trace of confusion and suspicion. "Just wanted to give you a little something to cheer you up," I said, embracing her briefly. Her scent, familiar yet now so foreign, filled my nostrils, and I had to pull away before my emotions betrayed me. As the party progressed, I watched her closely, noting how she interacted with everyone, especially with him. He had just arrived, a bit late, his expression unreadable as he made his way through the crowd to greet her. They exchanged pleasantries, their body language cautious but unmistakably intimate to an eye sharpened by betrayal. It was time. I clinked my glass, calling for attention. "I'd like to propose a toast," I announced, my voice steady, commanding. The room quieted, all eyes on me. "To Mary, who has taught us all so much about truth and deception," I began, the words hanging heavy in the air. Mary's face paled, her eyes darting nervously. "To secrets among friends and hidden truths. May they always come to light." The confusion was palpable. Whispers filled the room as I continued, and to the man who knew Mary had a husband and chose to ignore it. I turned to face him directly, my gaze like a dagger. The room erupted into chaos, the sound of murmurs and shifting chairs. Mary's lover, caught off guard, stood frozen, his face draining of color. "Jack, what is this?" Mary's voice trembled, her facade cracking. "This isn't just a party, Mary. It's a revelation. Did you think you could deceive everyone forever?" I asked, my voice cold, each word meticulously chosen for maximum impact. Tom stepped forward, his expression a mix of confusion and dawning realization. "Mary, is this true?" he asked, looking between her and me. The betrayal was no longer just between Mary and me. It was laid bare for all her loved ones to see. Her web of lies unraveling publicly, the shock and disappointment in the eyes of her friends mirrored my own heartbreak. As I walked out, leaving the chaos behind, a bitter sense of satisfaction settled over me. The storm had broken, and I had delivered the lightning. The fallout from the party was immediate and devastating. News of Mary's betrayal and the public humiliation I orchestrated spread like wildfire among our circle of friends. But my plan for retribution was far from over. The storm I had unleashed was only the beginning of the end for Mary and her paramour. In the cold light of day, I prepared for the final act of my revenge. It required precision and an icy resolve. My emotions had to be locked away. I needed to be calculating and ruthless. I began by securing evidence of Mary's affair, not just the calls and texts, but photographic proof of her deceit. A private investigator provided me with images that were indisputable, capturing her and her lover in clandestine moments. Armed with this, I approached Mary one last time at the home we once shared. The meeting was fraught with tension. As I entered, Mary sat at the kitchen table, her posture defeated, her eyes wary. "Mary, we need to finalize how we end this," I said, my voice devoid of warmth. She nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "What do you want, Jack?" "I want you to understand the depth of your betrayal. And I want you to pay for it," I replied, sliding the envelope across the table towards her. Mary opened the envelope, her hands trembling. As she sifted through the photographs, her face crumpled. "Jack, please," she began, tears spilling over. "This is non-negotiable. You will sign over the house and your share of our joint accounts to me. Consider it a parting gift for all the years of lies," I said, cutting off her pleas. "But where will I go?" she asked, despair in her voice. "That's your consequence to bear," I retorted. With a heavy heart but a clear resolve, Mary signed every document I placed in front of her. The house, the car, the accounts, it all reverted to my name. She was left with nothing but her guilt and a suitcase. The last to confront was her lover. He thought he would escape unscathed, hiding behind his ignorance as an excuse. But I had a different ending in mind for him. Finding him at his apartment, I knocked on his door, the last confrontation looming. He opened the door, his expression one of dread. "Jack, I'm not here to hear your apologies," I interrupted. "You're going to resign from your job tomorrow. I've spoken to your boss, explained the situation. He agrees that having someone of your character on staff is bad for business." His face went pale, his future slipping away as quickly as the words left my lips. "You can't do this, Jack." "It's my career," he stammered. "You should have thought about that before," I said coldly. Walking away from his apartment, I felt the final piece of my revenge slot into place. I had dismantled their lives as they had mine. The satisfaction was hollow, but it was all that remained of the love and trust that Mary and I once shared. In the end, Mary and her lover were left to rebuild their lives from the ashes of their deceit, while I walked away, free from the bonds of their betrayal. The price of their unfaithfulness was high, and I had ensured they paid in full. As I moved forward, the weight of the past began to lift, leaving space for new beginnings, free from the shadows of deceit.